Scott, take us back. You beat Scotland, qualify for the World Cup at the end of April. What's that review process like for you?
But it happens pretty quickly because we come up with a list of recommendations for the RFU for ourselves around where we want to shine our spotlight going forward. So we have an ongoing review process as we go through any competition. So there'll be a week by week piece, and we just collate that, bring it together. So about a week after the competition, staff will come in, stay over, get some ideas from the smaller groups, so the smaller management groups. Then we feed back to each other, discuss, understand, talk about where we want to go next, and then we action it.
And you've appointed new coaches there the last month or two. Alex Codling, Hugh Hogan, Gareth Steenson as a consultant kicking coach. Dennis Fogarty will continue his role, and then Maz Riley in as that intern role. So from the outside it seems like a lot of change, but you're smiling there. You've obviously got a master plan, do you?
Nothing as consistent in elite sport as change, is there? Look, we're always wanting to add to the programme and take it to the next level. The guys and girls that have been involved with us before were outstanding. For example, Dec got another opportunity over in the UK and chose to sort of have a look at that. So it happens, and the girls are getting used to sort of what elite sport looks like these days. Anything Dec brought and added to the party was fantastic. We brought Hugh in, and we've taken it on a step further again. So we're always looking for intel, always looking forward for the next experience to make players better, and it can look a lot from the outside. Dennis has been pretty consistent with us for a while. Larissa graduated the World Rugby internship programme. She's now on the next step of that, where she's looking at coaching experiences away from these shores. She'll come back at some point from that, and we can look to see how we further a development in Ireland. John McKee, Big John, has stepped into like a coach development, player mentorship role. So basically we have a smoother transition from the WNTS, and it's a pretty steep curve coming from that into the elite end of it, into the senior group. So we're trying to do a better job at preparing players so that when they step in, they're good to go, rather than come back in and then work it out. So we've look at Alex Codling, the level of experiences that he's brought in, and we knew we wanted to do a bit with our line out. It's obviously one of the main sources of getting your game going. So we just wanted to keep pushing the girls, keep developing them, and obviously he's coached with like Eddie Jones, senior England men, so brings with him a wealth of experience. So I think we're in a good place. You might look at it and say there's a fair spotlight there on the pack, but I think I'll be a big fan of saying, well, we get the pack sorted, we get them on the front foot, and then we can start to look at what bringing the backs to life even more looks like.
Is that what you feel this group really needs, an improvement in that pack?
I just thought there was a lot of moving parts, and a lot of it was new. Sam Monaghan is a fantastic player, leader, line-out caller. We just needed to get some more depth in behind her to support her. And look, really unfortunately for Sam, she picks up an injury, a long-term injury, so it rules her out of this competition. So there's sort of levels of experience and development that we need to get into the girls behind it, that they can help Sam when she comes back, that can help make us a better pack. And look, you'll never see a good team without a good pack. So we know we've got to get our pack up and firing. And look, delighted to see the work that's gone into them, and then be able to show that and express that on pitch against Australia.
You've obviously been in the camp the last month, played that match against Australia. The Sevens players have come back in, Stacey Flood, Amy, Lee Murphy-Crowe, to name a few. Had you always been in contact with those girls through the last year since you've been here? And was that always the plan, or how does that unfold?
There's always a master plan. Look, we're looking forward at what the seasons going forward look like. There's somewhat of a plan up to the World Cup in Australia in 29. So we know where we're headed, and we kind of you plot with where you want to get to, and then you plot back the steps that it takes to get there. So having the Sevens girls come online was always a big part of this plan. It was always known that this is where we'd be going. Rightly so, they concentrated on the Olympics before that. It was a big strategic part of what we were trying to do within Irish women rugby and Ireland rugby. So now there's a new strategic plan come out. Now there's a piece that says, actually, we've got to get this World Cup right. We want to qualify, which we did at our first opportunity. The next piece now is we want to be more than just participants. We want to get there and we want to contend. So getting our best players put on the Irish jersey in a 15 sense is part of that plan.
And that performance in Belfast against Australia, did it surprise you how good it was as the head coach, or definitely not?
You never really know quite what you're going to get when you're training, when you're competing. Essentially, you're attack and defence, pushing each other pretty hard. So until you get to the Test match arena, really, you can have an idea, an inkling of what you've put work in and how that will stand up. So, look, we'd have been pretty confident that we'd be able to put a good foot forward and we'd be able to put a performance in. I think we're mildly surprised that the sort of performance was perhaps as dominant as it was. We scored 6 tries, 2 disallowed, and probably left a couple of opportunities out there. So we're far from patting on ourselves and saying, do you know what, job done. We're saying this was the next step to test what we've been training, and it's only going to get harder in WXV1. So it allows us to keep a bit of momentum going forward. It allows us to take some confidence, probably of what we started to build in the Six Nations. If you remember back, the Six Nations wasn't all plain sailing. We'd had some ups and downs within that, but we've been able to finish on a high. We wanted to keep some of that momentum going, and we wanted to keep giving people something to cheer about. So I was absolutely delighted to finish that game with a pushover try, where our centres joining the maul and we're pushing over and scoring what I believe a set piece should look like. We want people knowing that we've got a set piece that's a little bit to be feared. It was fantastic to be able to put Sevens players on at 50 minutes and to sort of see us take a game that looked, it was probably we were in front, but it was in the balance, and then we take the game up a level. And some of the rugby that got played in that last 30 minutes, I think, got people on their feet, and we really showed some tries that people, I think, can get behind. So it's all moving in the right direction. It won't come without its challenges when we get over to Canada, but we're sort of putting ourselves in the right position.
You picked your squad for Canada: Catriona Finn, Katie Heffernan, Sophie Barrett, Ruth Campbell, Andrea Stock. Newcomers to the squad. You've also left a few which you picked for that Wallaroos game, the Australian game, out. So a year into the job, it shows how much the depth has increased. You've had to make some big decisions as a coach.
We've not had to make sort of squad decisions like we have either selecting the wider squad, selecting the Australia squad, and then selecting the tour to go to WXV1. We've not had that before. A year ago we knew what we knew, and we had the players that we had. I think it's really useful to be able to look back, because at the time there was a lot of questions around Celtic Challenge and where it was moving. It gave us an opportunity to work with players. There's always a lag effect to that. So you get people in, you get coaching time with people, you get to spend time with people within your coaching and playing philosophy. So we know where we want to take the game, we know the areas that we want to be good at, and we were able to kind of extend reach down into the provincial setup, to the wider picture. Maybe there was 60 players that we're delivering to, so therefore people have had an experience and understand what we're after. By putting them through those experiences, we had more and more people sort of putting their hand up through performances in Interpros and what we knew about the Six Nations and what girls were doing in the UK. So look, it gets harder. We want it to get harder. The Sevens girls coming back online was a really, really big part of that. There's girls in the Sevens group that were putting their hands up to play, and we've not been able to give an opportunity to yet, purely because we haven't seen them play. And without the ability to see them play, we've said, look, it's unfortunate, but you're going to need to be able to compete your way in. So this next version of Celtic Challenge becomes even more important. So there'll be some Sevens pieces that we still want to keep going, because it's a really important strategic part of what we're trying to do, and it's a great tool for sort of further developing Irish women's rugby. So we're going to keep going at that. We're going to get these girls moments within Celtic Challenge. People will be able to put their hand up, and we may see changes again going into the Six Nations. From where I sit, I want there to be, because I want people putting their hands up. I want people competing and trying to outcompete the girls that are perceived in the shirt already.
Outside of the results, what have you liked about this group over the last 12 months?
The growth in application. Started out, we had a new game model, and we kind of challenged the girls and what they knew and how they wanted to play the game. So we had an understanding really that we had to quickly identify who we were. What are we? What's gonna look like winning performances? What's gonna look like our best ability to compete on the world stage? Step back from that is girls got to understand who they are, and then how we maximise what we are. So there's been a lot of growth. You can't do that with a 15. Okay, you need to be getting closer to a 45. Your training environment needs to reflect what you think you need to do in a game, and it needs to, like both sides of the ball, needs to push each other. So we've been able to get a good start. We've added coaching expertise, like high expertise in specific areas that have challenged. Like, it's a pretty high challenge for the girls at times, but we back that up with high support, and they're getting better all the time. The simple thing is, Sam Monaghan was our line-out caller. Now we're developing a second caller, third caller, maybe even a fourth. So we're starting to develop depth that we're not reliant on one person to just do one thing, and therefore our levels of competition can go up. That will only help a Sam get better or a Fiona Tuke get better, because they're doing it and they're applying it and they're learning it, and they're sort of immersed in this detail and what they need to be successful on the world stage. So look, there was only the start point in Australia. I think there'll be still a tests to come, and I'm sure it will get tested a bit more, but as long as we can keep taking those steps forwards and growing the sort of backbone, really the spine of what we want to become, the important parts of the game, I think we'll only continue to get better.
We've talked about the positives. I suppose it was only 6 months ago, if even, Ireland conceded plenty of points at Twickenham, and I remember, I'm careful of quoting you wrongly, but you said maybe it was just a step too far or a bridge too far. Do you have any fears going into WXV1 that could still happen again? Yes, England aren't there, but there's some pretty good teams first up, New Zealand. Or how do you address that, as if to say, no, we're ready and we should be here to play and compete?
The going to Twickenham was a massive learning curve for a very young group. Getting off the bus and you've got a 150 metre walk, you've got a crowd 8 deep, waving England flags, Ireland flags. It's a really unusual experience, and until you've been there, it's very difficult to sort of say what it's like. We put things in place that would at least acknowledge what it would be like, but there's no replica really for what it is actually like. So we've got a group now that have experienced it. We discuss it, we debrief it, we understand why people felt that way. I'm pretty confident that were we to go to England and Twickenham again, we wouldn't see the performance like we did. I think we'd be much more competitive. Going to Canada is a different picture. Again, it will come with new challenges. The next opponent that we play, we're going to face a hacker. That's no problem. That's an experience that people have got to enjoy, got to relish, and we're definitely moving forward as a group. So look, we'll be better placed for when we get there. Ultimately, the big picture is we want to be successful in a Six Nations, or continue to be successful in the Six Nations, but we want to be able to make ourselves a team to remember by the time we get to the World Cup. So stepping stones towards that. It'll be another experience. I think we'll be further ahead than when we were last Six Nations.
I know you probably aren't one to single a player out, but Eimear Considine's back in after her tricky time. How do you feel she's adapted, and how good it is to have her as experience, but also her quality for the World Cup ahead, go down the line?
She's an outstanding person. Would be the first and foremost. She made it very clear when she first stepped up she was here to compete and compete away onto a tour, and to be a big part of this Ireland team going forward, a successful Ireland team going forward. So from the very outset, her mindset is exactly where it needs to be. She's an outstanding athlete. Every time a ball is kicked, you never think this ball's going to hit the ground. She's so safe under a ball. She's got the ability to kick right foot, left foot. She can carry, she can distribute, she can manage a backfield with all that experience. And some of our wingers that we played the other day are relatively inexperienced in 15s. Amy Lee's played a few, but in the last few years her experiences have been in 7s. Vicky, she's a little bit newer into the 15s game. So Eimear's ability to manage and cajole and put these girls where they need to be has been exceptional, and she hasn't backed off of that. Every session she's living that level of professionalism, really. So she's been a massive part for us back in here. It's been a delight to have around, and the modern world, she's a mother, and she brings her son in, and it's fantastic. It only adds to the environment.
Last couple on the WXV1. What do the next month or so look like for you? Performance focused, results driven. Which way do you see it? Probably on paper, the hardest one will be the first one, and then into USA and Canada. Which way do you sort of plan it out?
Do you know what? So New Zealand, people assume they're the hardest one. Canada are second in the world. Be a fair comment, wouldn't it?
It would be very fair.
And so look,
But do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I do. The levels of expectation. So look, we're in a world that we're talking about winning performances, aren't we? And that's where we're getting to. So we're going to strive for that. I think we're a step ahead of where we were, and we've got some experience and some firepower within our group now that I think we're going to be able to cause more and more problems as we continue to gel as a group. So look, New Zealand first up. They're going to come with their own brand of game. I'm pretty excited to see what we can put out there and what levels of performance we can get. I'd like to come away from this. I want people talking about Ireland. I want people talking about an Irish team that's actually incredibly difficult to play against. So that's our first thing. We've got to be really, really hard to play against. We're hard to beat. So there's levels of things we need to be good at. We're going to have a set piece that functions and can perform in the big dances. So against your top 4 teams in the world. So we've got to be able to pull the trigger on that. I think we're in a place that we're going to be able to do that. The next thing, we want to cause some headaches. So we want to be in games. And if we're in games, can we go on and win them? That'll be the levels of experience that we develop within this competition. So we want to come back having tasted victory, but we want to come back giving people some performances and go, actually, we're taking Ireland seriously from now on. And hopefully then that can be expedited into a Six Nations and a successful World Cup.
And how do you balance trying to get wins, but also giving people a chance for down the line that they need that experience ahead of England in 12 months' time at the World Cup?
Do you know what? It's the million-dollar question, but I think we're on top of it. I think probably where Wales fell down last year, they kind of went after each and every time rolling out a relatively same team, so therefore we're unable to develop the ranks within. Part of us producing winning performances in the World Cup, we're going to need more than 15 players. So people will get opportunities to put their best foot forward, but they're going to have to have earned that. We're not just giving opportunities to people that aren't ready. We've done that in previous WXVs. Ruth Campbell, we took her to WXV3 in Dubai, an absolute fantastic addition to the squad back then, but she wasn't ready to play test match rugby. She had to come through the Six Nations where she had to earn her craft. Again, didn't earn a cap, but she earned experiences that led her to put that performance in that we saw the other day against Australia, where she finally gets a cap. Now she's ready to kind of excel on the world stage, so she's going to have to continue developing to earn the opportunity to play in these teams. So we won't give caps away. We'll expect people to earn them, but we'll develop our group as they earn the right to be considered part of a successful Ireland team.
And you want people to talk about Ireland coming home in a month's time. What's the success? 1, 2 or 3 wins?
People will always probably anchor the numbers. You know, where are we now? 7th in the world, which has moved up from 9th. Who are we playing against? We're playing 3rd in the world. We're playing 2nd in the world. And USA, I'm not entirely certain where USA are. So, look, we certainly want to come back with a win. If we come back with a couple of wins, we'd be delighted. But we want to keep building what we've started, and we've got our levels of performance from the bits that are going to be important for us in a year's time. So we want a set piece to fire. So we want to score some set piece tries. We want a set piece to be able to launch our game. We want to be able to defend. So we want to stop World Cup contenders scoring tries. So it'll probably be more about the performance, but we definitely want to come back having tasted a winning performance.
Scott, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.